Okay, this is Ansel here again, and in this tutorial we're going to cover roaming profiles. What we would have done in the last set of tutorials, we would have created our Windows 2008 server, promoted it to a domain controller, and had the client machines attached to it. When we actually create a user on these machines, the users will be created locally, a local profile, which means that when they sign on to their machine, they would make necessary changes to their settings, their profile itself, things like create files, folders, personalize it with the background color and so on. But with a roaming profile now, it allows that user to move from that particular machine on the network and sign on to any other machine on the network for that matter, and have access to those same files and folders. Whereas if it is that you don't have a roaming profile, when you sign on to another machine, you would only have the default settings that are applicable to that machine. The only drawback to roaming profiles really is the fact that if the applications themselves, Word, Excel and so on, are not configured the same throughout the network, you would find that you would have differences in that aspects. But as far as your files and folders and your settings and so on, those would remain the same as the downright positive. So all in all, roaming profiles certainly has more positives than negatives. So in order to create a roaming profile, I have my Windows 2008 server up and ready. We're going to go to Start, Administrative Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. And within our domain, the adj.local, they have users. We're going to right click and create a new user. So you have the first name, last name, and your user logon name. Here it is, we actually creating a user on the network. Click next. You set your password. The same convention would have applied. And that would be an uppercase letter, lowercase number, and a special character. We don't want the user to have to change the password when they next log on. This would apply when you're actually administering or you're the administrator of a network and the individual forgot his or her password. You would set it to the default password and then click this box so that they would change it on the next logon. In this instance, we're going to go with password never expires and click next. So you have the full name, the logon name, and the password never expires. So on our local drive, the C drive, and we're actually going to create a folder which would set the path to allow the user to be able to toggle between the different machines. We're going to call this roaming. On that profile now, we're going to click share, and we have the user to this folder, which would set the path for the user to be able to maneuver through the network. Add the user's name, Jane Doe, after the Doe, and we're going to say add. Now Jane Doe, but the permissions level has only read write option. Well, read throughout. Click share and done. And we're going to right click on the folder again. We're going to go to properties now, sharing, and we're going to get the network path which gives access throughout the network. We're going to just highlight that, copy it, and say OK. We're going to go back to the Active Directory users and computers, the user that was created. Right click on the user profile, properties, and within the properties of the user, we're going to go to profile, and that profile part that was just copied from the folder, we're going to paste it in there. In doing so, we now have basically the channel in which the user would use to go throughout the network. But how do you identify whether or not the user has the authority to do that? In that case, you now have to specify the user. So you can actually backslash and type in the username, but to ensure that you don't have any misspelling and to ensure that it's 100%, you type % and username, username, % and apply. And as you can see, the name automatically defaults to the respective user. Again, issues by way of spelling, whether or not you're not sure of the name and so on, you would have dealt with that across the board. You say OK, and here it is. The user Jane Doe was created and given the requisite sharing access to be able to maneuver throughout the network. How do we test? We have two client machines. We have the Windows 08 client and a Windows 07. So let's log on using the username that we just created, the logon name, password. So log on. Here we have our basic desktop. Let's just make some minor changes. This is a test. Show it will work. Alright, so we have two folders. This is a test. Show it will work. And let's just log off from our 08 client. And let's go to our Windows 07 client and log on. And we have it here already. Again, not having much memory on the PC, takes a little while to load given the number of virtual machines. It's something to note when you're going through these sort of scenarios, creating a number of VMs. Okay, screen color defaulted to black. That is weird, but the two folders are there. Let's look at personalizing. Let's see what happened here. And background songs. Let's color basic. Apply. Okay. But most importantly, new folder. The folders exist. Open one of them. New text document. I have access, and close that, and let's log off from here. Okay, now let's log back on to our O8 client. Password. And we see the fancy color that we made the change with on our 7 client applied here, and the change with the folder exists. And let us go into the folder, show it would work. I have access. So we were able to, firstly, on our Windows 8 client, add 2 folders, go across to our Windows 7, add a 3rd folder, and within a folder, add a text document, make changes to the background, and then come back to our Windows 8 server and see all the necessary changes. This, in effect, is our roaming profile. So, that's it for now. Until our next tutorial. Stay tuned.